Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Siboga TV, which is your number one online political channel. Today, I want us to have a candid discussion around the popularity of Fred Matiang'i. And we are going to look at that popularity immediately after Fred Matiang'i actually announced that he was going to enter into the national politics of this nation and his popularity currently. And if you are interested in that topic, I could request you kindly to stay put. But please do for me the following things. 1. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a like. Share the video to your friends. And if your friends are lovers of politics, it's good to request them for us to subscribe to this YouTube channel because this is the home of politics. And for those ones who have actually subscribed to this YouTube channel and they always keep watching our videos, I say thank you. May God bless you because you really give us the inspiration to continue coming up with this kind of political analysis. And whenever you subscribe to this YouTube channel, always remember to hit the notification bell because that is the only way you will give YouTube permission so that you can get notified to watch any political content that we upload into YouTube. Now, let us come back into the discussion. When Fred Matiang'i actually entered into the national politics and said that he was going to stop at presidency of this nation, everybody was very happy because of the coming in of Fred Matiang'i. And most of the political opinions which were undertaken at that time, they showed Fred Matiang'i actually becoming number one in most of those political opinions. But the trajectory is actually changing slowly because as we are moving towards 2027, the popularity of Fred Matiang'i is actually coming down slowly. Why do you think by then, when he announced that he was going to enter into the political campaign of this nation, his popularity was very high? Immediately, Fred Matiang'i actually entered into the presidential race of this nation. Many people wanted Fred Matiang'i actually to be the person who is going to be the president of this nation after William Samoei Arap Ruto, late come 2027. And he was actually received overwhelmingly. And the name of Fred Matiang'i was actually being felt across the entire republic. And people were seeing Fred Matiang'i as their savior, as their Mr. Fix-It. And they expected that Fred Matiang'i was going to enter into the political arena by coming with great strength, by coming in like a tsunami, and by starting campaigning across the Republic of Kenya. But Fred Matiang'i chose to come into the political field, a bit being quiet. And this was not the expectation of many Kenyans because they have always seen Fred Matiang'i as a very strong personality, as a no-nonsense person. And therefore, they expected that his entry into the national politics was going to be like an earthquake, was going to be with a renewed force, that even the welcome of Fred Matiang'i into the entry of the national politics, it was thought that Fred Matiang'i was going to be received like a king. You have been seeing early on when the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga used to come, probably when he had gone to a vacation, he used to be given a very warm reception. And many people thought that whenever Fred Matiang'i was outside the country and he was probably coming in, It was also to get a reception which is bigger than the equivalent of the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. You used to hear people saying, Baba, when you were away, this is what Ruto did. This is what Kenyatta did. And many people, after hearing that Fred Matiang'i was coming to go for the presidency, they expected that. They expected that Fred was going to be received into the country massively, and Fred was going to be the new energy in the political side of opposition. But Fred Matiang'i came in a bit slow. He came in without actually being noticed to have those kind of grand receptions. But people were having great hope in Fred Matiang'i because they know Fred Matiang'i as a performer, as a no-nonsense person, as a person who can fix this nation, who can make this nation to go into another level. And that is why, by then, most of the opinion polls which were carried, they had put Fred Matiang'i as the star of that time. But I think the strength of Fred Matiang'i is actually coming down slow, day in, day out. And also remember, Fred Matiang'i came into the political arena as a Kenyan and not as a tribalistic person. But if you see what's happening, Fred Matiang'i has been able to go to the united opposition. And in the united opposition, we have political leaders who are actually perceived as tribal leaders, as tribal kingpins. And that is why the likes of Rigathi Gachagua, and Rigathi Gachagua has always been coming out and he has been saying that he is there to defend the Mlima. He is there to see the interest of the Mlima. And therefore, Rigathi Gachagua, who is a huge player within the united opposition, is actually being seen as a tribalistic man. And also, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is also being seen as a tribal chief. That is why he always controls the Ukambani nation. But remember, Fred came in as a nationalist, as a Kenyan, and people had great hope because of that. But now, Fred Matiang'i has mixed himself with those people who are being perceived as tribalists. And slowly, the tribalistic agenda is actually consuming Fred Matiang'i. And that is why, as you have been seeing, Fred Matiang'i is now being forced to come to the Gusii nation. And now he's saying that here is home. All of you, you must support me. All of you, you must know that if you cannot support me from home, how can I go to the national table? Because if you want me to be the president of this republic, then you must support me overwhelmingly from my home, from my region. And therefore, Fred Matiang'i is being drawn in gradually to the tribal narrative. And without him knowing, he is playing the game of those people who had advised him that you must be the kingpin of the Gusii nation. And because everybody is moving to his tribal cocoon, at the end of it all, Fred Matiang'i will be seen as a tribal chief from the Gusii nation. And this narrative is actually going to affect Fred Matiang'i greatly, because soon Fred Matiang'i is going to find himself in that mess. And remember, even when Fred Matiang'i joined Jubilee as a political party, at first it was as if Jubilee was selling Fred Matiang'i in the entire Kenya and even in the Mount Kenya region. But from the time when Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta came in and told the Jubilee people that they should not actually abuse Rigathi Gachagua and call Rigathi Gachagua as a tribalistic, then the narrative is changing, because those who were supporting Fred Matiang'i from Mount Kenya, now they have gone slow. And that means the person who has won in Mount Kenya is Rigathi Gachagua, because we are not going to have that big political fight, which we were actually going to see in Mount Kenya. That Fred Matiang'i was to fight for the entire Mount Kenya bloc and for the Kenya in general. But now, the people who were actually heading to the side of Jubilee and who were opposed to the Rigathi agenda, now they feel as if they don't have a place in Jubilee. And that means the number of people who are going to campaign for Fred Matiang'i in Mount Kenya has actually reduced. And for those ones who are ready to fight for Fred Matiang'i to win the mountain forts, they will not do so, because they have been told, don't go head on with Rigathi Gachagua. And therefore, because of the tribal narrative, which is catching up with Fred Matiang'i, it means now the popularity of Fred Matiang'i will come down. And you will find that Fred Matiang'i will score highly from the Gusii Nation. Probably he will be getting 98 or to 99% of the Gusii Nation. But in the Mlima, now Rigathi Gachagua will control. And you know the differences in terms of popularity in Mount Kenya and the Gusii Nation. The Gusii Nation is small. The population is small. The voting bloc is small. But the entire Mount Kenya, the voting bloc is big. And therefore, if as we go towards 2027, it will reach near to 2027, then you will find Rigathi Gachagua will be telling the entire Mount Kenya as a bloc, please support this person or support that person. And if that will not be Fred Matiang'i, therefore his popularity in the face of this nation will come down drastically. And that will be the end of Fred Matiang'i political career as a national figure. And I have been telling people that if Fred Matiang'i wanted to be the president of this nation, he probably could have made a national political party. And he could have used that national political party to champion his narrative as a national leader. And probably he could have refused completely to go to the side of the united opposition as early as by now. And he could have probably waited until towards the end of 2027 elections. That is when he could have forced to come in, and he could have formed what we call a coalition with other parties. But now, because he has started so early, that is why the narrative of the tribal narrative is actually going to catch with Fred Matiang'i, the way things are actually happening. And now, from even these contests or these by-elections, which are going to be on 27, Fred Matiang'i has found himself campaigning only in Gusii land. And he's not campaigning, or he's not having what we call candidates in Mount Kenya. He's not having candidates in Mbeere North. He's not having any candidate in the Luo Nyanza. What does that mean? That Jubilee is shrinking down. And probably, let's say Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta withdraw himself from being the leader of Jubilee. That means, again, Jubilee as a political party will be a Kisii political party. And that is why if I was to give an advice to Fred Matiang'i, by now, Fred Matiang'i should be building Jubilee so that Jubilee can have a national outlook and Jubilee should have candidates across the nation. So Fred Matiang'i, instead of emplacing the coalition, which is called the United Opposition, he should now be actually using his power to make sure that Jubilee as a political party becomes so huge and should have candidates across the entire Republic of Kenya. And Rigathi Gachagua should run from what President William Samoei Arap Ruto did. He made UDA as a political party to be one of the largest political party. And towards the end, that was the time he had to engage other political parties so that they can form a coalition when UDA as a political party was huge enough. And now what it actually needed was just a little push from other political parties. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were told to advise Fred Matiang'i, which kind of advice could have you given to Fred Matiang'i? Please drop your comment in the comment section below. And if this is your first time to come into this YouTube channel, I request you kindly to take a minute and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a like, share the video to your friends, and if your friends are lovers of politics, it's good to request them for us to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And for those ones who have actually subscribed to our YouTube channel, I say thank you. God bless you, because you really give us the inspiration to continue coming up with this kind of political analysis. And with that, I say thank you until we meet in our next political conversation. Goodbye.